Thanks for tuning in, and welcome back to Costa Rica. In our previous episodes, we picked up our rental from Nomad America, headed south along the Pacific coast, discovering beaches, thermal springs, waterfalls, and some great fried chicken. We explored the Osa Peninsula, saw some amazing birds and fish, and then experienced the clouds in completely different scenery as we crossed over from the Pacific to the Caribbean. We had our first tropical downpour just north of Panama, and then headed back across into the North Pacific, where we found the icy waters at Playa Iguanita and started making our way south, ending up at Playa Matapalo. We then slowly ventured down the coast, trying to find the next perfect camping spot.
So I think we need to catch up on the last couple days of this story.
We ended our last episode with the sun setting at the completely empty and out-of-the-way beach of Bejuco. After spending a peaceful night here, we awoke to find the beach still completely vacant. Our plan for today was to venture more into the interior of Costa Rica and explore the area around Lago Arenal. We were hoping to find a place to camp somewhere around the lake so that we could have a short drive to our next destination, the Mystico Hanging Bridges. As we made our way inland, we encountered some local traffic and noticed how windy things were getting. In trying to find a campsite, this was going to be our biggest challenge. The scenery here is stunning, and though it's hard to capture on camera, the size of the Arenal volcano always looming in the distance is impressive. We explored a number of areas around the lake, and all of them seemed to be quite exposed to the wind, no matter which part of the lake we were on. Wind was something that, up to this point in our trip, had not really been a big issue. Though this is not the rainy season, in this part of Costa Rica it can be quite windy in the dry season, and apparently this year even more so than some. Eventually, we decided to try a small, seemingly protected area at the very end of the lake. From here, we had a great, though distant view all the way across the lake of the Arenal volcano. After finding a few rocks to get us level, we set up camp. This is the kind of spot you dream about finding. Well, maybe. We did a bit of exploring and found some interesting things on the ground, very different textures from what we'd seen so far, including this, which we think may be related to termites. As the afternoon turned into evening, even the ants seemed to be in a hurry to get to their shelters, and when we thought the wind would be dying down, it was actually picking up significantly. I added every piece of rope we had to try to make the tent as secure as possible, but as darkness took over and we tried to sleep, the winds became violent, to the point where it was strong enough to try to fold the tent in half while we were still in it. That was enough. It was time to bail. In the pitch black wind, we packed up and drove off into the night, arriving at midnight where we knew we could escape the wind.
So that brought us back here to her favorite, and I think the best beach so far.
Yep, that's right. We are back at Playa Minas. I really do think this is one of the hidden gems of Costa Rica. It's been the perfect temperature, humidity, and absolutely free of the crazy wind. It's never been crowded, and the beach and the water are just perfect. To answer a question you may have, how did I charge the drone batteries? It's actually extremely simple. I plug in the USB charger into our folding solar panels, and after a few hours, I have fresh batteries. We charged our phones, power banks, camera batteries, everything from this little panel. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. With the sun down and all the commotion of the previous night behind us, we had a good sleep so we could set out early the next day for our adventure at Mystico Hanging Bridges. On arrival, we were greeted by their very friendly welcoming committee, and after making our way through the gates, we began to explore the trails. At this time of year, there is a lot to see in Mystico, and we started in the flower garden. I have to say, during editing, I wasn't sure why we had this clip, and then I saw it. When you get up close, the size, both diameter and height, of the trees here is mind-blowing. Most people find it takes 2 to 3 hours to do a self-guided walking tour. We took significantly longer. Everything takes longer with cameras. Speaking of cameras, I highly recommend you bring something with a zoom lens. We found this little guy just barely within reach of our cameras with no zoom lens. And with how big of a space this is, a lot of what you see is at the limit of a phone zoom. There's a lot of life here, but it tends not to be right at the edge of the trails. The Mystico Hanging Bridges are about 600 meters above sea level, and it encompasses approximately 250 hectares, just over 600 acres. Mystico has 14 bridges and several kilometers of well-constructed walking trails. The park took about 12 years to build and has been in operation since the beginning of the 20th century. As well as seeing lots of different plants and animals, you can expect to hear a lot as well. The sound of the frogs was undeniable. As you start to gain elevation and get to the higher up hanging bridges, you can anticipate seeing the still active Arenal volcano. With its last eruption in 1968, it destroyed 232 square kilometers of land. Prior to that, its last eruption was in the 1500s. Oh, but you might not want to look down. I think Krista was glad to get back on stable ground. With every corner, there is something new to see, smell, or hear, and Krista discovered this miniature beehive in the side of a tree. These bees are only a few millimeters long, similar in size to a mosquito. We knew from an information point near the beginning of the trail that these were non-stinging bees, but maybe don't bug them too much, Krista. The Mystico Park is located between both lowland and highland ecosystems, which means you can see trees, plants, and animals from both in the same area. There are over 700 species of plants and over 300 species of birds that can be seen here. The hanging bridges allow you to see this area from different perspectives, so you're not always looking up at the trees. Though the parking lot was quite full, we didn't find the well-maintained trails to be too busy at all. I would suggest if you choose to use the handrails, be sure to visually check them before grabbing on, as many creatures seem to use these as elevated highways. Speaking of creatures, you never know what you're going to see, so keep your eyes peeled as sometimes they're hiding in plain sight. As we wrapped up the last few bridges and the last parts of the trails, it was hard not to feel like we had stepped back in time, way back in time. And I can only imagine it was not far off looking like this when the dinosaurs were around. Giant trees, jungle sounds, and of course, volcanoes. But I think it's time to get back to the beach. Ah, the beach. Calm, relaxing, quiet, safe. That's about to change.
Whoa.
You just stole my cracker. You just stole half my cracker. Did you get that on?
I have no idea, but I think I know why he was in the tree right
You
before.
stole my cracker out of my hand.
This not-so-small white-throated magpie jay appears to know where the easy food is and has become very used to people and people food.
Is that a good Ritz cracker?
Happily perched just above our camping spot, eyeing when its next snack would become available, and knowing Krista is a sucker for animal friends. Its friend, squawking in the background, didn't seem to be so happy that this one was getting all the food and attention, though was not brave enough to copy this one. I guess if you don't take the risk, you don't get the reward.
Hello.
What was that? I need this hand to give him more. Hi, baby. Oh, do you want more crackers? You got a little piece. You want more? Aww. You're a good bird.
Maybe it's time for me to go find a friend. These guys seem a little too spiky to be friends. These urchin spines are huge, I would say 5 to 6 inches long. I've learned to stay away from these guys. I found some big schools of fish as well. They didn't seem to mind me joining them. I assume these are the fish that the fishermen on shore were trying to find. Right here, below me. As I swam back closer to the beach, I found some camouflage at work. These two were not too hard to spot, but they sure do blend in well. You'd be a bit more hard-pressed to spot this guy, though. I don't want to get too close, but let's get a little bit closer. Check out those eyes. They're like dinosaur eyes. As I made my way around to the other side of the bay, it happened. I got a tag-along friend. I had no idea where he came from or why, but this tiny little guy was super interested in my GoPro and kept up with me for about 10 minutes of swimming. I'm not sure if he was using me for protection or just liked shiny things, but it's a good thing he wasn't poisonous because I couldn't shake him. Let's call him Finn. And then, just as quickly as he had appeared, he was gone. Just disappeared. Huh. As I made my way back to the center of the bay and the beach, I saw a few more fish, almost invisible against the sand. As the water became shallower and started warming up, and after a good long swim, it was time to get out and change into some dry clothes. Speaking of,
one of the other things that we brought with us was this change tent, and a lot of you have probably seen these. They're very simple to set up. You take it out of the bag, unfold it after it unfolds itself by grabbing the middle of the layer that's closest to you and very quickly giving it a hard pull. So these are really useful for changing on the beach or having a shower or digging a hole. The irritating thing about these, if you don't know how to do it, is putting it back in the bag. The first part is easy. You push it back in so it's a flat, warped disc. And then you have to kind of fold it into a circle twice. And there is an easy way to do it if you know how. I'm going to show you the easy way. You take the bottom of the tent. So I'm holding the bottom. You put the top against the ground. I'm putting my foot on this part of the tent here to hold it in place. I'm going to take my right hand, pass it under my left hand. I've made 2 circles, and then the third circle at the top here, push it to the ground. Grab all 3, shake the sand out, and that's the right size to be slipped into the bag. These are extremely useful on a beach for changing, and anytime you need to be not seen by people around. Not that there's anyone else on this beach right now, but it's a good little privacy tent. If you're interested, these are available on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description, and that's how you fold them up. That's the key aggravating part about these. I would say if we hadn't learned how to fold this up, we probably wouldn't be using this.
and with all that folding up, it's sadly time to pack everything up as our Costa Rica month-long adventure of the road less traveled has come to an end. Exploring Costa Rica has been an amazing adventure, and I very highly recommend seeing it in the way we have, with a rooftop tent. Of all of the places here, this beach has been extra hard to leave behind. It's been nothing but perfect in every way, every time we have come back here. I really hope you enjoyed our adventure, and it has inspired you to get out on your own adventure, because when you take the roads less traveled, you find the places you never knew you needed to go. Thanks for watching.
You just stole my cracker.
Best beach so far, and
What is wrong with you?
There's a fly flying in front of me. How come we haven't had these here? What? It's not there until I hit record.
Yeah.